live streaming.
Okay, I think we can start. Let's start with the pledge to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome to the December meeting of the Lancaster Town Zoning Board of Appeals. And let me just say right now, we're going to be thorough but quick. You know, everybody wants to be home to get home. Okay, I'm going to ask our clerk, Diane Terranova, to take the roll, please.
Michael Hain.
Here.
John Michaely.
Here.
Keith Storr. Mark Tillmans. Joshua Robluski.
Here.
David Zeller.
Here.
Chairman Monticelli.
Here, thank you. And whenever you're ready, would you read the first case? Let me ask, just for the sake of time here. Is one of you here for 183 Cemetery? Yes. You are. Okay, just want to make sure you're here before we read the case. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. First case considered by the Zoning Board of Appeals is that of the petition of Chad Cavallaro, 183 Cemetery Road, Lancaster, New York, for one variance for the purpose of installing a privacy fence on premises owned by the petitioner at 183 Cemetery Road, Lancaster, New York, to wit, a variance from the requirements of Chapter 400 zoning section 34, subsection A of the Code of the Town of Lancaster. The request calls for installing an 8-foot tall privacy fence on the south side yard. Chapter 400 zoning section 34, subsection A of the Code of the Town of Lancaster requires no fence or wall in a residential district shall exceed 6 feet in height, except where it abuts a non-residential district. The petitioner therefore requests a 2-foot variance.
Thank you. Are you Mr. Cavallaro?
Yes.
Would you come up, please, to the microphone? And the first thing we're going to ask you to do is give your name and your address for the record.
The name's Chad Cavallaro, 183 Cemetery Road.
Thank you. Tell us about the project that you're asking for the variance for.
Well, as the property sits, it's adjacent to Nictor, and as you know, it's county road, and there's a lot of truck traffic, there's a lot of daily traffic and event traffic that goes towards the drag strip and various other places. The purpose is the way the property is situated. My neighbor next door, Monty, his house is set back a little bit so it doesn't provide a barrier of sound and light pollution, and it's more for just the privacy of my family and just having a nice ambiance in the backyard. Because the way the backyard is situated, there's a slight slope, and Monty's front yard is about 3 feet higher. And when you're standing on our patio, if it was a 6-foot fence, you can basically see over it. So it's kind of not doing what I want it to do, providing a little bit of privacy, a little bit of, helping decrease from the traffic, creating a more peaceful living environment. Just an improvement for the backyard. It's gonna have 6x6 timbers and 1x6s horizontally mounted, kind of like a pallet style, I guess they would call it. I believe the privacy fence will significantly benefit my household while remaining consistent with the community standards. The construction is probably 3 to 4 weeks worth of work. It's just to create a nice environment for the backyard. I think we can all agree that privacy is key. It's actually, it'll end up being like 7'8" to create the nice appeal of the backyard.
Okay, but you're still asking for a 2-foot variance, right?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know how you would, how it's measured. I mean, are you going right from the ground? How far away can you measure? I mean, like I said, if you walk 5 feet away, the slope of the land is like 3 feet difference. So
I see.
if you put a 6-foot fence on a 3-foot berm, you know, it's going to be a lot taller than 8 feet. So it's kind of, I guess there's like a, you know, it's, how do you justify 6 feet?
We're going to let the board ask you any questions that they may have, starting with Mr. Hain.
I have no questions.
Thank you. Mr. Michaeli?
Thank you. Have you spoke to the neighbor next door? You mentioned-
Yeah, he totally is fine with it. He understands.
And it's 40 feet long, the fence. How far is, and I apologize if it's in the package, I just didn't see it. How far from the property line?
It's like 8 feet on the property line, because in the survey, we went, I believe, 24,
Yeah,
Yeah, 24 feet.
it's 24 foot from the house, and it's like 28 feet to, 28 and a half feet to the property line.
This is 24 out to that, and it's like, I think that's a 28. It's a little tough to read on the scale.
Yeah, 28.48 foot.
24, so it's about 4 feet off the line.
Yeah. And it just provides, because that road, and I mean, everybody, you know, headed to the racetrack loves to stop at that stop sign and do a burnout on their way through, and there's lights coming, there's always dump trucks going to the town building that's over
I
there.
was surprised looking at the survey, you didn't make it longer, so what you really wanted to protect is the house, not so much the patio behind it. The fence won't be covering the patio, protecting the patio.
No, it's because otherwise, if I put it closer to the patio, it would be interfering with the driveway. It also helps with the snow now, because the snow blows right across my neighbor's front yard and and the garbage cans are there, so that ends up with snow drifts up on that side. And because the house used to, our living room now on that side used to be the garage, in which they converted into another family room. So we use that door a lot to go in and out of the house, throw garbage out and stuff, and it's beneficial.
Okay, I have no further questions, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Michaeli. Mr. Oblowski?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no questions.
Thank you. Mr. Zeland?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no questions.
Thank you. I have no questions. Anyone in the audience? Okay, there being none, the board will entertain a motion.
Whereas the zoning board of appeals of the town of Lancaster has made the following findings, that this area variance for single-family residence according to Part 617.5 C17 of the New York State Codes, Rules and Regulations, is a type 2 action, and has been determined not to have a significant impact on the environment, therefore, it is not subject to a secret review. That no undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood by the granting of the area variance relief sought. That no detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance relief sought. That the benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance relief sought. That the requested area variance relief is not substantial. That the proposed area variance relief will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood or district. That the alleged difficulty is self-created but not to the extent necessary to preclude the granting of the area variance relief sought. That this board has taken into consideration the benefit to the applicant if the variance relief sought is granted, as weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant. That within the intent and purposes of this ordinance, this variance relief sought, if granted, is the minimum variance necessary to afford relief. And that such fence will not unduly shut out light or air to adjoining properties, and that such fence will not create a fire hazard by reason of its construction or location.
Thank you, Mr. Michaeli. Second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Oblowski. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hain?
Yes.
Mr. Michaeli?
Yes.
Mr. Robluski?
Yes.
Mr. Zelak?
Yes.
Chairman Monticelli?
Yes. Okay, your variance is approved. You just need to follow up with the building department from here.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Get home safe. Sir, what is your address? Okay. So that would be our second case.
Yep.
All right. So when you're ready, then would you read that, please?
The second case considered by the zoning board of appeals is that of the petition of Thomas Stoffel, 907 Erie Street, Lancaster, New York, for 2 variances for the purpose of constructing a residential accessory structure on premises owned by the petitioner at 907 Erie Street, Lancaster, New York, to wit: A variance from the requirements of Chapter 400, zoning section 13, subsection C, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster. The request calls for constructing a residential accessory structure 22 feet 6 inches tall. Chapter 400, zoning section 13, subsection C, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster requires a maximum building height of an accessory of 16 feet. The petitioner therefore requests a 6-foot 6-inch variance. B, a variance from the requirements of Chapter 400, zoning section 13, subsection C, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster. The request calls for constructing a residential accessory structure 3,200 square feet. Chapter 400, zoning section 13, subsection C, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster requires a maximum accessory size of 1,250 square feet. The petitioner therefore requests a 1,950 square foot variance.
Thank you. So you can come on up. And as I said before, please just give us your name and address for the record.
My name is Tom Stoffel, 907 Erie Street, Lancaster.
Thank you. And tell us about your project.
I would like to build a pole barn to put, and the reason for the height difference is because I got a camper and I would like to store a couple cars that I have and put them on, 4-post lifts where I can put one underneath the other to save a little bit of room. But I have several pieces of equipment. I have a sawmill, and I've kept this stuff outside for years, and I would like to get it in out of the weather. And there's a existing barn there, but it must have been built by short people at one time in the 20s, I guess, because I have to duck to walk in there. So this is a project that I'd like to do to house stuff, clean up my outer area, keep everything inside.
And you're keeping the old barn up?
Well, for the time being, but the way I'm positioning this one behind it, that I could eventually take that one down because it's from the 20s.
And are you extending the driveway then to the pole barn?
Well, I put a new driveway in next to the existing property that goes back and over to it, so I didn't change the original driveway in front of the original barn.
All right, let's start with Mr. Michaeli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one comment that's worth mentioning that you didn't mention. You have nearly a 10-acre site.
Pardon me?
You have pretty much a 10-acre site. It's
Yes.
9.94 acres. I think that's worthy of mentioning. That's all I have.
Oh, thank you for making a note of that. And Mr. Robluski?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no questions.
Thank you, Mr. Robluski. Mr. Zeland?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have one question. Do you have a business? Will a business be operated out of this?
Oh, no. This is just my own hobbies. I got a car that I had since I graduated from high school and have never had a place to work on it,
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zelak. So all of the items that you hope to store in this, you need the 3,200 square feet because it's almost 3 times the
Right.
zoning.
Well,
Limit.
actually, in the summer, I also got a brand-new pickup truck that I only drive in the summertime, and I'd like to store that inside. So with a camper, the sawmill, the pickup truck, and I have other pieces of equipment there that I'd like to get in, plus a lift to put my cars on.
And what material material do you plan to use? Is this a vinyl siding or,
Well, it'll be a pole barn with steel siding,
Steel
steel
siding.
roof,
okay,
and, nice garage doors and everything.
okay, yeah, I did see the drawing. Okay, anything else?
No, I don't think so.
All right, in that case, any questions from the audience? There being none, the chair will entertain a motion if we have one.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Zeland.
Whereas the zoning board of appeals, the town of Lancaster has made the following findings that this area variance for a single-family residence according to part 617.5C, section 17 of the New York State Codes, Rules, and Regulations is a type 2 action that has been determined not to have a significant impact to the environment, therefore is not subject to a secret review. That no undesirable change will be provided in the character of the neighborhood by granting the area variance relief sought. That no detriment of the nearby properties will be created by granting the area variance relief sought. That the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some other method feasible to the applicant other than the area relief sought. That the requested area variance relief is substantial. That the proposed area variance relief will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical environment conditions in the neighborhood or district. That the alleged difficulty is self-created, but not the extent necessary to preclude the granting of the area variance relief sought. That this board take into consideration the benefit of the applicant. That the variance relief sought is granted and as weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant. That within the intent and purpose of the ordinance, the variance relief sought, if granted, is the minimum variance necessary to afford relief. That no commercial enterprise other than those permitted by Chapter 400 Code of Town of Lancaster to be conducted on the premises.
Thank you, Mr. Zelak. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Second, Mr.
Like,
I could think of was very irritating.
Really made her wait for that.
Your pardon, John. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hain?
Yes?
Mr. Michaely?
yes.
Mr. Roblewski?
Yes.
Mr. Zalak?
Yes.
Chairman Monticelli?
Yes. You're all set, you're approved, and again, follow up with the building department.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're very welcome. Take care. And we have a third case, 5839 Genesee Street, apparently no representative. So just for the record, that was our third case tonight, which we will have to adjourn if we hear from the party. Okay, any other matters the board wishes to discuss?
For the one that we don't have, we don't think we've ever made a headway on heights of the previous signs that we were talking about. Is there,
The sign?
yeah, it's the height of the sign, correct, for the commercial?
It is.
We have talked about it a couple of times, we never made any adjustments other than the illuminating the light issues of it.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because when I read this case, I thought, we get these a lot, and I don't recall ever having one not be approved. So, as you may recall, I sent a letter to the town board over the summer, I think it was July, listing some of the types of cases that we get so frequently. The variance requests for the pole barns in particular, but a couple of others as well. And I didn't even think to add that to it, but yeah, I think that the current existing height is not reasonable for the businesses.
Yeah, so the question for Matt, is this out of reach for them to obtain in their kind of commercial district?
Well, I mean, there's definitely a difference between a ground sign and a pole sign.
Yep.
And, if we're going to make an amendment to an existing code, I really believe we need to look at the entire portion of the code, because there's some other statements that are in there that are non-applicable nor have been enforced in the decades that the code's been in place. Not only is this what I can consider a zoning permit, but it's defined in our code as a use permit, renewable at 5-year intervals for a $10 renewal fee. I haven't seen one renewal fee issued. I've not seen one one follow-up inspection. We could barely do fire inspections, let alone, look and see whose use permit is expired. So that, it seems to be a little bit old.
Yeah.
And then there are some districts that, clearly could benefit by taller signs because the snow that we get, and that's always the argument, we get so much snow and it buries the sign and what have you, and we have to keep in mind too, it's public safety that we're dealing with. The way the code reads, a pole sign could be placed right at the front property line, provided it's between 8 and 25 feet above finished grade, which makes sense. You can see traffic in and out of driveways on major thoroughfares, and you don't have that visual encumbrance. But the ground signs have a minimum setback of 15 feet from that front property line, the right-of-way line. So there's ample enough room to, to avoid any visual conflicts, not only with a public sidewalk, but with oncoming traffic. So it would be reasonable to adjust the height. It's just choosing what's going to be the right height.
Right.
I have not heard back from the board on that matter, so when I do, then I'll make sure that we bring this up as well.
Did this client, did they postpone it? Did they table it, or just no show?
They never contacted
No
me.
show?
I'm sure they will tomorrow.
Okay. So this will probably be on next month's docket, probably?
They would have to
If they
pay
apply for it
legal
again?
again.
Yeah, they have to apply for it. Okay. That was it.
Thanks, David. Anything else? Okay. Meeting, motion to adjourn? Thank you. Second? Meeting is adjourned. Everybody have a Merry Christmas.
Yep, Merry Christmas.
As well.
Mr. Moriarty?
Where's the time going? When are the Sabres going to win again?
Want to park in handicap, but
I know.